Manifesting is a word that will either give you positive tingling sensations or it will completely make you cringe. You hear it from everyone all over the internet, talking about how they manifested subscribers, views, businesses, and even love interests, using things like journaling, vision boards, or repeating positive affirmations. To everyone in the community, it is quite a spiritual practice, but to everyone outside of the community, they tend to be very skeptical and see this as very delusional behavior. But right now, I want you to forget everything you've heard. Put away all your preconceived notions, put them in a bag somewhere. Let me reintroduce you to manifestation, only science, no fluff. But before we get into this video, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I will consider it a thank you in advance. Despite how recent manifestation may seem, it is not a new concept at all, taking its roots in the 19th century's New Thought movement, and then peaking in 2006 with the release of the self-help book called The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. From then on, it's been on a constant high, even getting into the social media era, to the point that it's even a buzzword on TikTok among Gen Z. Even though it is considered a spiritual act, it is not rooted in any specific religion. So how can something so vague be so widely used and run for so long? It's because manifesting itself has more to do with human nature than it does any belief system. Right now, let's participate in two very simple experiments. I want you to look around the room and just scan it, observe it. You can pause for a minute if you need to. Okay, now I want you to look around the room, but only spotting the color red. Look for red wherever you can find it. Look for as much red as you possibly can. And then this other experiment is also quite simple, but you can try it in your spare time. Look for a chain and a ring.
Assume the position of the thinker, or more accurately, this guy. Get your ring and loop it through the neck chain. Both elbows don't have to be rested on the knee, but with the one that is rested, hold the top of the neck chain and then look at the neck chain and the ring and picture it moving in a clockwise motion. Do this until you see a change in movement without any conscious effort on your part.
So in experiment 1, what you should have observed is that in the beginning, when you had nothing to look for, your attention was caught by everything, maybe the TV, maybe the bed, maybe the ceiling. But when you specified your target, you skipped over everything and only looked for that specific thing, which in this case was the color red. And let's say the target was a bit hard to find, you started to look for it even in colors that were not red, trying to find hues, looking for the smallest hint of red. And then what you must have observed in experiment 2 is that in the beginning you were a bit skeptical, so nothing was happening, but eventually it started to turn without any conscious effort. As humans, we evolved to be hunters, even being at the top of our food chain. But this is quite a shocking fact because looking at human beings, we are usually slower, smaller, and weaker than our prey. So what made this possible? Our greatest hunting tools are obviously our minds and something called persistent hunting or long distance hunting or endurance hunting. This is the act of chasing prey down until it is too tired to run, making it easy for our much weaker bodies to take down. And looking at humans, they are one of the best long-distance runners in nature, and our bodies have evolved to do so. We have longer legs, we have a good temperature regulation system, and even a specialized cardiovascular system. This unconscious regulation is what we see in experiment 2. The target was set as the ring moving in an anti-clockwise motion without us ourselves making any movement. Your body aligned itself in order to achieve the desired results with the conditions given. This is called autosuggestion. But simply being long-distance runners was not enough. We would run into trouble when we approach the animal and it gets aggressive and we get injured. This is when our minds came into play. We looked around our environment to create weapons that would facilitate minimum interaction with the prey. That was the rise of spears and bows and arrows. We acknowledge the limitations, set the target, and use our environment to catch the prey. And that is what we see happening in experiment 1. Experiment 1 is as a result of the frequency illusion illusion, or the frequency bias, or the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. I hope I pronounced that right. It is a cognitive bias referring to the tendency to notice something more often after noticing it for the first time, leading to the belief that it has an increased frequency of occurrence. So basically how this phenomenon works is that whatever is at the top of your mind at that moment, you'll start to think is happening more often because you start to notice it everywhere in your environment. With this phenomenon, just like we started to wonder what other colors may have hues of red in it, we also started to wonder what other things in the environment could make more efficient weapons. And with this mindset, everything in your environment becomes a weapon to defeat your prey. I bet right now if I told you I'd give you $1 million if you could get to the other side of the room without touching the floor, you would immediately start to manufacture possibilities of how this could be possible. Just like we saw in the famous "The Floor is Lava" challenge. Because our minds were focused on creating weapons, we moved from spears to stones to bows and arrows to now getting to guns and bombs and missiles. We found the hues of red in the purple, which were the chemicals and metals found on Earth. So if you name your target, your mind will start to seek it out consciously and subconsciously. This is where the concept of angel numbers comes from. These are repetitive or predictable sequences of patterns of numbers, e.g. 1111 or 777. When you decide your angel numbers, you will begin to see them everywhere. I actually tried this experiment for over a year and my body synced so well to finding these angel numbers. So much so that I would wake up randomly in the middle of the night like an alarm went off, and the first thing I'll do is check my phone and I would find these numbers. It came to the point where every single time I touched my phone, I would find the angel numbers I had decided on my phone. These types of experiments not only teach your mind to be sensitive to its prey or your specific target, but they also help you be more trusting of your own instincts. Other exercises include journaling, repetitive positive affirmations, and lastly, but definitely not least, is visualization and vision boards. Your vision is your most active sense, and so visual exercises are a game changer. I came across 2 experiments, and they found that students who visualized themselves studying and performing well on exams scored higher than those who did not do the visualization techniques, and then athletes who used visualization techniques improved their performance by up to 25%. There is a reason having a vision and having clear goals is so heavily emphasized. If you can see it, you can figure out a way to get it. What you can see, you can achieve. People often confuse statements such as "I want to be rich" to mean the same as "I don't want to be broke," when these two statements couldn't be more of opposites. Think about every time you told yourself you didn't want to fall, or embarrass yourself in a public setting, or mess up your presentation. Chances are you probably tripped, made a few mistakes, and were most likely uncomfortable and self-conscious the entire time. Because thinking "I don't want to be broke" is you focusing on being broke. And because manifestation heavily relies on subconscious actions that are a product of either evolution or repeated practice rather than voluntary conscious actions, we are basically programming something on autopilot. So the instructions have to be clear. As I was going through some articles, I found a common piece of advice that is shared in the world of skiing. I will elaborate through the story of Kathy because I think it summarizes this concept really well.
The art of focus, ski the gaps, not the trees. That always seemed to be one of the silliest pieces of advice I was given. The gaps aren't going to hurt me. Those trees though, those trees are evil. The skis will go where you look. That was also clearly nonsense. I've had my 2 skis abruptly part ways and head in 2 entirely different directions, neither one where I was looking, and the results weren't pretty. I learned to ski as an adult, and it was a slow, awkward process driven by conscious learning rather than the intuitive discovery of children. With time, I came to realize that some advice only applies once you are good enough to use it. Gradually, my ski control became a subconscious process. My body learned to make fine intuitive adjustments faster than I could deliberately think them through, and it became true that the skis would go where I focused. I started to see that if you skied down a slope staring straight at a tree, you'd ski into it. So instead of focusing on the tree, Kathy decided to register the trees only in her peripheral vision. This did not work out either. The result was a series of heart-stopping near misses. Somehow the tree would abruptly leap into my path. Finally, it dawned on me, and that truth was simple. You get what you focus on. A tree in my peripheral vision was still a tree I was obsessed with, afraid of, drawing my attention away from where I actually wanted to go. I'm not suggesting you ski into a forest without taking an overview. I identify the obstacles I need to avoid and plot the line of gaps that will carry me safely through. But once I've committed to the descent, then I need to let go of all the possible problems and give my full attention to success. Focus on the gaps, one leading to the next and the next. Slide my way through in an exhilarating fast dance to where the slopes open up below. Ski the gaps, not the trees. Focus on what you want, not on what might stop you. It turns out to be very good advice.
So basically, the story is talking about where your mind goes, energy flows. If your prey is a business, don't think about how businesses fail. If you think simply about starting a business and succeeding at that business, you will begin to see more opportunities to start a successful business.
A good example I can give for this is Mr. Beast, who is a highly successful YouTuber. He says from the ages of 18 to 24, he focused nothing but on things that would make his videos better. His early videos were nothing to rave about, but you could definitely see the hunger and the drive to always get better videos. And when you look at him now, it goes without saying that he figured it out.
So focus on what you want and not what might stop you. Ski the gaps and not the trees. So just like the story, the more you practice it and the less you doubt it, the easier and faster it becomes.
In conclusion, manifestation is just the practical art of focus.
And that is the science of manifestation. So after this video, I hope you pull out your diaries or your man journals and begin to label your prey. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.